Hello and welcome to the Ice Guy. This is the show that takes you into the world of the National Hockey League. Every game, every day, from a betting perspective. With pro sports handicappers, Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, and various guests from the world of hockey and sports betting. And now, here's your host, Ian Cameron.
Welcome to the Ice Guys, Saturday, May 17th. Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, and a special Saturday guest appearance from Matt Robinson. Because it's a Dallas Stars Game 6 playoff game day, we figured we'd bring him on for a little bit to talk about Winnipeg-Dallas Game 6. And we will also be talking about what we now know will be a Game 7 on Sunday night between the Florida Panthers and the Toronto Maple Leafs. Decided we'll make this our only show this weekend. There won't be one tomorrow, so we're going to do both games this weekend today. Break it all down. No show tomorrow, and we'll be back Monday. So that will be the schedule. So we'll talk both Game 6, Winnipeg, Dallas, and Game 7, Florida, Toronto. And there will be a Game 7 between Florida and Toronto because the Toronto Maple Leafs said, we ain't going out like that, as the old song would say from Cypress Hill. We're not going out with that Game 5 stink bomb as the lasting memory of this otherwise really good season that they've had. And look, top to bottom, credit the whole team last night. That was we're all on board. We're all pulling the rope in the same direction type of effort from the Leafs last night. And most importantly of all, their top players who could not be found in Game 5 collectively all stepped up and played really strong games, and most importantly, really strong games away from the puck. You know, the defensive effort and the extra effort plays all over the ice to win battles that somehow were missing for this team in Game 5. They were there last night. It was a very tight game. It was very well defended on both sides. Obviously, we went into the third period scoreless. There were moments Florida pushed pretty hard and had Toronto kind of on their heels, but Toronto consistently withstood it. And when they got to the third period, you could see the team was playing well enough to win. It was just a question of could they finally get a big goal, and specifically from one of their big top players, one of their stars, one of the many that they've paid a shit ton of money to be a difference maker at this time of year. And finally, number 34, Austin Matthews, has his signature playoff moment of his career. To me, there's no bigger goal he has scored in his career than the one he scored through the wickets of Sergei Bobrovsky in the third period. And it was, you could say, a bad goal by Bobrovsky, but it was a vintage Austin Matthews release where it was off his stick in a hurry, and Bobrovsky just couldn't close the 5-hole quick enough. And sometimes you have to tip your cap to the shooter and the guy and the player that let the puck go when you have a release like Austin Matthews does. That shot of his to beat Bobrovsky and put Toronto up 1-0 reminded me of, you know, the kind of shots he would have with the velocity and the vapor trail behind them that he would have, you know, throughout the last several years that we've seen repeatedly. We have not obviously seen it much in these playoffs, but boy, what a time for Austin Matthews finally to have that big goal in the Stanley Cup playoffs moment. And then, of course, Joseph Woll, rock solid. You know, I think they defended hard. They defended well as a team, winning battles all over the ice. But when there were saves to be made, Joe Woll made them. And then they get the great 2-on-1 goal. Bobby McMahon with just an incredible saucer pass to Max Pacioretty, and he finishes it past Bobrovsky to give them the 2-0 lead. And they would win by that same score, 2-0, shutting out the Florida Panthers in Game 6 after that utter debacle in Game 5. It's just, and all you can think of when they played like that last night, Toronto, is where the fuck was that in Game 5? On home ice, you know, with a chance to go up 3-2 in the series. It's almost mind-boggling, and you can't reason with why they played like they did in Game 5, and then how they completely turned it around and played like they did last night in Game 6. It's just hard to fathom. But they did, and now here we go, dragging Florida back to Game 7 in Toronto on Sunday night. It would be the leafiest thing to do, to lay another egg at home in Game 7 on Sunday night after just bringing everyone back in and all the fan base is starting to believe that something special could happen again? Are the Demons going to come back, or is this damn franchise and this core group finally ready to author a different ending to the story? We will find that out tomorrow night. And if they do win that game tomorrow night, maybe they're destined for something special this year after all. Who knows? But like I said, tomorrow night, I'm telling you this right now, the biggest Leaf game in 23 years, because that's the last time they were in the conference finals. And it's almost like it's going to be a referendum game for this core group. And changes could happen because, Marner's contract's up in the air. Tavares' contract is up in the air. And it's all going to hinge, I think, upon what happens tomorrow night. Florida got out Florida'd last night, quite honestly. The Leafs were just checking better. The Leafs, were blocking more shots. The Leafs beat the Panthers in blocked shots last night. Leafs had more blocked shots than the Panthers did last night. And how do you not love Paul Maurice? Did you guys catch wind of what he said after the game last night, saying he tried to sell this bunch of BS that the Leafs actually played hard and played well in Game 5? And, in that 6-1 loss, he said, well, you know what? We got a couple lucky goals, and they really played hard. It was a much closer game than the final score would indicate. That's a bunch of nonsense. That's bull. That is Paul Maurice, though, brilliance is what that is. That's reverse psychology. He's just planting a little soundbite in the Leafs' heads to say, you guys didn't play that bad in Game 5. Give me a little more of that in Game 7, please. I think that's what he's trying to do. You really didn't play that bad, guys. 6-1, but you really did not play it that bad a hockey game. Give me a little more of that tomorrow night in Game 7. That's what Paul Maurice was hinting at with that statement in the press conference last. I thought it was hilarious. It's vintage Paul Maurice. And I said on Twitter, nobody can fucking spin a ball of yarn like Paul Maurice these days from a coaching standpoint. Oh my gosh. I knew exactly what he was doing saying that. Reverse psychology 101. And trying to plant the Leafs' minds into thinking, we didn't play that bad. We can play something like that in Game 7 and win, which obviously they would not win that game if they played anything like they did in Game 5. But very interesting comments from Paul Maurice after the game. And here we are, Game 7, Panthers-Leafs Sunday night, Alex. I can't figure it out. I can't figure out how one team desperation spots plays like they did in Game 5, one game, and a complete and utter turnaround in Game 6 on the road, no less, in the next game. You figure the Leafs out, you're a better man than me.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. It's great entertainment. If you're a hockey fan, this has been fun to watch. It hasn't been a dreadful series like we saw with Carolina and Washington. Even though that was a slow-paced game, but it was still the last two games that we've seen
was still very good.
Exactly. Yeah. The last two games that we've seen draw on 0-0, at least 40 minutes in the play or longer in the case of Edmonton Vegas, the other night was that, they were good pace and good action. Like I said, it was physical. It wasn't a slow plotting game, but in the grand scheme of how Toronto won, it didn't spur confidence that, they're going to Game 7. They now have momentum to win the game. It didn't spur any confidence that, okay, Florida took a night off and now they can just ramp it up and turn it on in Game 7. It really kind of just draws into, okay, they're even in the series. And now Game 7 is truly just one standalone game to decide the series. There's no momentum shift, I think, one way or the other. Even though Toronto was able to survive and advance another game, there's still not that kind of just fire. The fire is just because it's a Game 7. It's not because one team has momentum going into it. So I think that makes it a lot more interesting. That makes it a lot fucking harder to bet on. And as right now, I got nothing. I don't think I will be touching anything on that game, to be honest. If I do, it'll be something maybe a live wagering kind of a spot. But pregame with this one, the way this series has gone back and forth, of course we know it's going to be a wall in Game 7. Which I think that's obviously, we talk about how Matthews hadn't shown up, Marner hadn't shown up. We can't downplay just how big of a loss it was for Anthony Stolarz getting knocked out of this series. Not just Joseph Woll's a good goalie, he can keep you in a series, but the way Stolarz was playing, the storyline that we had already kind of tipped on of him playing against his last team, the team that clearly where he made the growth from being just a middling backup to a guy who could be a number one a goaltender in this league, and for him to get knocked out, I think that momentum shift hurt just as much as not having your core four stepping up in those games that Florida came back and won. So, now all of that's out of the way. Everything's neutralized and canceled out, and we have just a game 7 of roll the puck out, who wants it more, and who's going to advance the conference final.
The first Leaf goalie to notch a shutout in an elimination game last night, Joseph Woll, since Curtis Joseph in 2002 in the Eastern Conference Final, Game 5 that year, to stay alive against the team they would play this year in the Eastern Conference Final if they get past Florida, the Carolina Hurricanes. How about that?
Interesting.
So, it's very interesting. And Joe Woll, by the way, in elimination games now 4-1. I noticed in that they put the stat out there last night about that. 4-1 in elimination games. So, and really good numbers.
If I were to tell you 2 years ago that Joseph Woll and Stuart Skinner are the two best closeout goaltenders in the league right now, you'd probably think I was on something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no Vasilevsky, no Bobrovsky, none of the top elite goalies in the league. No, We're talking Woll and Skinner as this dominant elimination game track record. Matt, what did you think last night, Leafs Panthers?
Yeah, I said it in the chat yesterday. I obviously was like most of the world. I thought Florida would probably close it out at home. But it wouldn't be crazy for Toronto to get it done and go back to game 7. I think I even poked fun, and no harm to Leafs fans, but win game 6 and then lose game 7 at home would be a very Leafs thing to do. But after that game, I think, and it's like this in any series, any game 7, you obviously want home ice. Is it a game-changing factor? Not necessarily. You've got the perks of, last change, you're in your home locker room, you're at your house, things like that. But overall, I think, it is a coin flip in game 7. So I think what Toronto did is they've now given themselves a coin flip to move on to the Eastern Conference Finals, where, going into that game 6, I think everyone was pretty heavy on Florida. This series is over. Toronto's got no heart, blah, blah, blah. So, and I was more, I wasn't heavy on Florida. I did have a rough betting game. I think I went 0-5-1. My only bet that pushed was that third period over 2 goals.
That's
pushed even.
Yeah, it was not good.
Of
course, I took Toronto to score in the first, and a team that won the game to score in the first, and they didn't score in the first.
Yeah, I had first period full game overs, both missed. I had the empty net, yes, missed. So tough betting game for me for sure.
The empty net,
but I tend to find, and I'm gonna knock on some wood, but when I have a really shitty day, the next day is good. And if the next day is good today, then I'm gonna be a happy guy because I obviously have a lot of leans for a team that I like. But yeah, no, good work for Toronto. I mean, it's awesome to see them kind of push a game 7. I said it, earlier in the week. I'm gonna be traveling to Florida on Sunday, so I'll be there for work through Thursday, so I won't be on the Tuesday or Thursday show this week. I've got a conference down in Orlando, but I've got like an 8-hour travel day through Dallas down to Orlando tomorrow. So I'm like, what better way to enjoy the last leg of the flight, or my second leg of flights, than a game 7 on my phone. So I'll have a cocktail and then watch game 7. So from that front, I'm fired up. I mean, there's no better way to travel than to be able to sit there and watch a game 7 on,
the flight,
the game, on the flight tomorrow. So have a Tito's and soda and enjoy some hockey. So, but yeah, good for the Leafs. At least pushing it to a game 7. I really, similar to Alex's sentiment, I don't know if I'll have a lot of leans tomorrow. Maybe a first period under, which is something I don't think I'd bet the entire season. But I think it's a coin flip. So I haven't even looked at the lines for tomorrow, but I'm not going to have a lot. That's for sure.
No doubt. All right, let's get into today. And we're going to do both games this weekend on today's show. We're going to start with the Winnipeg Jets and Dallas Stars, game 6 tonight in Big D. We've got Dallas minus 135, home favorites, and the total here 5.5, pretty much even money. Dallas looking to close out this series. We know the stats for Connor Hellebuck on the road now. 1-11 in his last 12 road playoff starts, along with the Jets. when he started. We're talking 0-5 on the road in this year's playoffs alone. They have not won a road game. Dallas is 4-0 off a loss in the Stanley Cup playoffs so far. They have not dropped back-to-back games in this year's playoffs. And Mikey, I noticed, posted some really good numbers here as far as Dallas has been shut out twice in the playoffs this season. Remember, one of them was Game 2 in this series against the Winnipeg Jets, and they came back home.
They've been shut out 3 times. They were shut out by Colorado in Game 4.
Yeah, 2 previous times is what Mikey meant with the stats he posted. They're 2-0 off the shutout loss. They're 11 goals for, 4 goals against in the next game after being shut out. They've outscored the opposition 4-1 in the first period of the next game. So they've covered the first period puck line. They've covered the full game puck line, and both of those games off shutout losses, they cashed their team total over 3.5 as well. The Dallas Stars. I have no faith in Winnipeg winning on the road because they haven't shown me anything otherwise. They can talk all they want, and they're saying all the right things. It's that we've learned from the past games that we've lost on the road in these playoffs, and we're ready for something. Show me then. I'm at the point where I'm sick of hearing talk. Action speaks louder than words. Show me that you're ready to win a road game. Connor Hellebuck, I don't want to hear this jargon and BS and word salad that you're rolling with. Nobody studies goaltending harder than me or more than me, he said the other day. That's a bunch of nonsense. Stop the fucking puck on the road. Nobody wants to hear how many hours of videotape you're cramming in behind the scenes to make yourself a better goalie. Stop the fucking puck on the road. That's what it's about, man, because you haven't been doing it enough at this point in time. So I'm going to go Dallas. A lot of the same bets I've taken with Dallas in this series when they've played at home. Dallas to score in the first period. Dallas team total over 3.5. Dallas money line, I think, is cheap enough to take it, although I'm going to go small on the money line and go for the -1.5 because I think they've won every home game as well by margin here. And Winnipeg's lost every road playoff game by margin here as well. So we're just sprinkling it across all those when it's all said and done. There's really nothing more to go over other than to say that I believe Dallas will go back to 12-6 tonight. They've had 11 forwards and 7 defensemen the last 2 games as they gradually, ease Miro Heiskanen back in. Well, did you see the way it ended in Game 5? They were not easing him in anymore. They were giving him number 1 power play duty again, and you could see they were giving him a little bit more leeway later and later in that game. So I think they're going to go back to just 6. So one of these defensemen that probably doesn't deserve it because they've all played, yeoman's work in the absence of Heiskanen, but someone is going to sit. My guess is it's Petrovic for Dallas, but we'll have to wait and see on that if Peter DeBoer goes to 6 defensemen and 12 forwards, as I suspect he will for this game tonight. But we'll do a Dallas score in the first, Dallas money line, Dallas team total over 3.5 are the primary bets here for me with Game 6 between the Jets and the Stars. Oh, and of course, third period over, an empty net goal. We will take those here as well. And probably might dabble with the Dallas empty net goal, just Dallas empty net goal, assuming that I think they've got a pretty decent chance to have the lead, in the latter stages of the third period. We've got Matt with us for about 5 more minutes, so we will go right to him for Game 6 here tonight, Winnipeg, Dallas.
Yeah, I think we have a lot of similar bets on this one, but obviously a really exciting Game 6. I've got some insights into the Stars, and I've got people on the inside that are saying things, and some of them contradict each other. So you never can be 100% sure, but I'm told that it's up to Miro if he wants 6 or 7. So if he's ready to go full tilt, because I think Pete DeBoer on the ticket yesterday mentioned, if we're going 6, then we're not going to have Miro playing 19 minutes. We're having Miro as Miro. He's going to be out there, power play, penalty kill. We need him to be all bought in that, hey,
nope,
we're
it's
going to
11-7 again, confirmed. I'm just seeing it. 11 forward, 7D, confirmed by Sam Nestler here on Twitter. No lineup changes expected. So there you have it.
Yeah, well, so that must mean Miro, didn't want to be put in that position to go full tilt. So that's interesting. But the other piece that I've been hearing is that the Stars have a different game day routine for game sevens. They do an additional walkthrough. They just have a different routine for game sevens, and they're treating today like game seven. It's a must win for them. They don't want to go back on a plane.
I
even
know
if
they have
you
9-0 with Pete in Game 7 waiting in the wings if need be, but I don't think they want to test that. They'd prefer not to.
Yeah, and I mean, it's sort of, if they end up going back to Winnipeg, even if they were to win on Monday night, then they're flying home. Edmonton's already on the way. They kind of lose that advantage of having home ice in the next round. And I did see if Toronto doesn't beat Florida, Dallas has home ice the rest of the playoffs is what I'm told. So, but yeah, so I think it's a must win for Dallas, and I think they're going to play like it. I think the traditional off a loss, off a shutout bets are great looks, even more so with it feeling like a must win, a game 7 type game. So I love Dallas first period over half, 1 and 1.5. It's minus 155, minus 170, or plus 170, plus 290. I think similar to game 3, it could be a 2-1 into first, ideally a 2-0 if you're Dallas, but I think Winnipeg knows the same type of feel. They're going to want to push early. I just think, if Ottinger gives up a goal early, I'm not, losing my mind. If Dallas scores in the first 5 minutes of the game, first 10 minutes even, especially if it's a goal Hellebuck would like to have back, it's such a mental warfare at that point, and Dallas can kind of roll from there. Um, so yeah, I think they need a quick start. I'm also going to be on the first period 1.5, just in general. I'm seeing that at like minus 115. I think Dallas might be pushing to get to 2 in the first. I think Winnipeg absolutely can score a goal in the first. So, just it could be 1-1, it could be 2-1. Either way, I think that hits. But yeah, I think it's going to be, obviously last Sunday at the American Airlines Center was ripping. The broadcast, you saw on Twitter people that are unrelated to the series. Ryan Whitney's an Edmonton Oilers fan. He's talking about, holy shit, the AAC is rocking right now. So, and that was on a Sunday. This is a Saturday. That was a Sunday afternoon game on Mother's Day. This is Saturday night, 7 o'clock local time. It's going to be a fucking ride in there. So I actually thought about swapping my flight and flying into Dallas today and then flying to Orlando tomorrow. But
that would have been
decided
tempting.
to wait and see. Decided to wait. I mean, last year I went to a game in every round, and they obviously ended up losing to Edmonton. I think my thought this year is I'm just going to save it. And if they do get to the Cup finals, then I'll splurge and go big and go to one of those home games. But yeah, it's going to be a ride in there. I've got friends already sending me Snapchats out day drinking. It's 11:30 there. They're already out brunch, patios, just living the Dallas downtown dream. So that place is going to be rocking tonight. I think that's a huge advantage for Dallas. And then the other piece that I think was a little less noticeable in game 4. Obviously, Rantanen had an assist, but it was very noticeable in game 3 after game 2. When Dallas can get the matchups that they want and they get that last change, it's a lot tougher for Winnipeg, to have certain guys out there against a Rantanen, or for Dallas to have Miro on the ice in certain situations. So I'd expect, because Miro didn't even play in that game 3, I'd expect Dallas, to have great opportunities for matchups tonight. And, there is some sentiment to Pete DeBoer's 9-0 game 7 record. When he feels it's a must-win game, there's something different he does from a coaching level. That doesn't happen by chance. You win 3-4
I think it's safe to say
game
he
7.
couldn't care less about trying to get to 10-0 with that.
Yeah, no. And I think, you win 3 game 7s in a row, cool. Maybe you're just on the right teams or this or that, but to win 9 in a row, I mean, there's something you're doing differently from a coaching side that is clearly working. So, it's a deep veteran room. Sagan said it after game 5. We don't want to it's a long flight. Like we're not planning on coming back. So, I think there's no need for extra motivation. There's not a speech that needs to be said. I think guys will be ready to go tonight. So I'm looking forward to it. I think it'll be a good game.
And I don't want to take it away from Winnipeg because Winnipeg had a phenomenal Game 5. I thought they played great. They shut down Dallas. They were the much superior team. They carried the play. Dallas didn't really get much going, and Hellebuck had a great game. But there is no doubt they were a step behind in the urgency department and the desperation department, Dallas, in that game compared to Winnipeg. You could clearly see it right from the opening puck drop. I assume that's not going to be the case here tonight in Game 6 when these two teams hit the ice. Matt, we know you got to run, so we'll go right to Bargain Bin Special of the night with you and Best Bet before you go on your way for this Saturday. And I'm sure you're amped for this game tonight. But Bargain Bin Special, Matt, what do you got with that?
Yeah, for the bargain bin, I'm going to go with a guy. Again, I think your veterans have to step up in these must-win games. I mean, is Mikko Rantanen going to score a goal tonight? If Dallas wins this game, it's very likely. There's guys like that are in the mix. But this is a guy, he has no goals in this series. He had a couple of big ones in the Colorado series early on to kind of keep Dallas in that series when they were missing guys. And he had the best chance of Game 5 for the Stars. I think Tyler Seguin chips in tonight. I'm seeing him at plus 330, plus 333. He gets some power play time. I think, the lines are going to be sort of shuffled, but he seems to be getting opportunities with top guys, with the Duchesnes of the world. He was out there with Mikko a couple shifts, Rupe a couple shifts. I just think he's a guy that, steps up in big games, and he's a new dad. He doesn't want to jump back on that Winnipeg flight and fly out tomorrow for a Game 7 Monday night. He'd rather just, have a couple beers, hang out with his kid tonight, and get ready for the third round. So give me Tyler Seguin anytime goal tonight. That's my bargain bin.
And I mentioned this to you, Matt, that the only thing missing for Dallas that would really put them in another stratosphere is production from the likes of, as you just mentioned, Seguin, Marchment, and Duchesne, that trio.
Yep.
It's been mostly the Finnish five that's been dominating the offense lately. Mikko, Granlund, Rope Hintz has chipped in, but certainly that trio, there's something more to give offensively, and we will see if they can do that here tonight. So Tyler Seguin for Matt Robinson with his bargain bin special of the night. His best bet, what do you got?
Yeah, I'm going to take it back to a bet that hit for Game 3 after the shutout loss. It's hitting a lot of Hellebuck's losses. We didn't cash it in Game 4. Didn't need to get there, but Dallas Stars team total over 3.5. Wyatt Johnston had a really good chance to get it for us. It was unfortunate to see it the streak end, but one is not enough to end the trend with how deep it's been going. And I do think if Dallas is going to win this game, they're going to close out the series. I think they're going to have to put some goals in net early and then kind of run away with it as they tend to do when they do have a lead heading into the third period. So give me Dallas team total over 3.5 plus 130. We'll take another shot with it, and that's going to be my best bet for tonight.
All right, Dallas Stars team total over 3.5 at a great plus price. You're really getting a good price. I'm seeing plus 140 even in some spots with that. The Dallas team total over 3.5 for Matt Robinson with his best bet. Matt, we're not going to see you much this week. Obviously, you're traveling. You're on work conference duty. So safe travels, safe flight.
Yeah.
Enjoy the games. Not just tonight. Obviously, you're going to enjoy tonight with Dallas, but Game 7, Florida, Toronto tomorrow as well. Have yourself a good week. Stay safe and enjoy your travels.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Any Orlando Ice Guys fans, hit me up. We'll grab a beer. But I'll be trying to jump in the chat when I can. I think Tuesday I'll be in a conference the whole day, but Monday, Wednesday are pretty light in the mornings and early afternoons. So I'll try and jump in the chat. I'll try and drop some bets in those games as the next series are announced. But yeah, have a good weekend, guys. Obviously, I'll be cheering for the Stars. So go Stars, and hopefully we get an awesome Game 7 tomorrow night. But yeah, thanks for having me, and I'll talk to you guys soon.
There he is, Matt Robinson, and we'll see if his team, the Dallas Stars, have it in them to close it out tonight. Alex, we'll go to you now. Winnipeg, Dallas.
Yeah, well, it's been a fantastic series to watch so far, and like I said, now this has to be the closeout spot. Like I said, the AAC rocking on a Saturday night. That place is going to be absolutely electric, and the key is to absolutely overwhelm this Jets team, overwhelm Connor Hellebuck the way that you've done, the way that St. Louis did, the way that 11 lineups out of 12 have done against him over the last several years. And like I said, it's funny, if this was a regular season game and you told me that any goaltender had a streak of 9, 10 losses and getting pulled in 4 of the last 5 starts, you'd say, well, you probably shouldn't start him on the road. But here we are with Connor Hellebuck starting in Game 7 on the road, where he's struggled mightily, and you have a Dallas team that is electric off of a loss. And we've talked about this theory for a long time in the playoffs. Go back to Tampa Bay, to go back to the Blackhawks during their run. Great teams find ways to bounce back off of losses in series, and especially in the deeper series, the second round, the conference finals, the Stanley Cup final. This lines up to be a slam dunk spot for Dallas, and I don't say that too often. I like Dallas to score the first goal of the first period, plus 120. I like Dallas team total at MGM. You can get over 3, flat 3, minus $1.10. I'm playing that a little safer, but I will sprinkle a little bit more on that plus 140 with 3.5. But I'm going a little heavier with the flat 3. Empty net goal plus 110. Dallas to score the empty net goal plus 290. We didn't even talk about that in the Toronto Florida game, how they flip flop the numbers. If you were paying attention yesterday, you got Florida plus 600 early in the morning. They reopened it about 2 hours before the game, and Toronto was available plus 600. So if you're able to try to grab the middle, you did the right thing. Unfortunately, Toronto or Florida could not get an empty net goal, but that's a huge error by MGM, and I'm grateful that they're putting that prop up again. They could have easily just took that prop down and not brought it up for the rest of the postseason. So the fact that we have that team to score an empty net goal is wonderful. Plus 290 there with Dallas. Plus 110 for either team to get an empty net goal. I'll be betting both of those. And I have a bargain bin from this one that's a little bit interesting. I was doing some research and looking back on Dallas and closeout games, and I noticed a little bit of a pattern. So I'll mention that in just a moment.
All right, good stuff indeed. Yeah, as far as the props go for tonight here between the Jets and the Stars, let me just see here. Hold on one there. There we go. We've got the numbers posted up here. I would say, the Finnish guys have been the ones that have been the most dangerous here for Dallas. So, if you want to stick with Hintz, Granlund, and Rantanen, especially that trio, I don't mind it one bit. That they could end up obviously making an impact. If you look back at the home game, Miro Heiskanen's return in Game 5, he got on the board and got a point. So I think there's value with his point prop as well going into this game tonight. If you're looking at shots on goal, a couple that stand out are Ehlers on a 4-game shots on goal over streak at 2.5. So, and Nikolai Ehlers continues to be, I think, one of their better players in this series, the last few games for the Jets. Morrissey's gone over his shots on goal prop in 3 straight. Michael Granlund 2 straight. So there's a couple to keep an eye on. As far as goal props are concerned, for Winnipeg, it's clearly Ehlers because he's got it going right now. There's no question, and you're still getting very good prices. And Adam Lowry, of course. And I thought Adam Lowry played a very hard, physical, strong game in Game 5, even though he didn't get on the score sheet in the Winnipeg win the other night. And, whether it's home or away, he's going to give you a good performance, usually, away from home. Matt was going outside the box with Seguin. They need a little more offensively from Marchment, Seguin, and Duchesne. That trio, most of the offense in these recent games has been Granlund, Rantanen, Rope Hintz, Wyatt Johnston. Those have been the guys that have been getting it done for the most part for the Dallas Stars. Not a ton from everyone outside of that. So like I said, interesting to see how it plays out. I know there's that logic out there that some people have when it looks too obvious in a game like this, where it does feel like it's just obvious, Dallas is going to finish it tonight. And people like to go the opposite of that and say, well, it looks too obvious with Dallas, we got to bet Winnipeg. And I know there's people that probably thought, well, it's too obvious last night with Florida, you got to bet Toronto. I have never been handicapping like that for 15 years, and I'm not about to start right now either. And I think when you look at the situation too on the it's a different sport, basketball, but I know I heard a lot of people when I did the NBA show with the group that I do the NBA shows with said, it's too obvious that the Knicks are going to wrap it up, and we got to maybe take Boston. Well, the obvious ended up coming through. The Knicks ended up winning that game convincingly. So I think when you look at this kind of a situation right here, it's just Winnipeg has not found a way on the road to win these games. And like I said, I think it's definitely something to keep in mind moving forward that into tonight, that it's just there's no evidence of this team on the road in the postseason stepping up, bringing their A game, and it being enough to win. So that's why I'm sticking with Dallas. I think that's why Alex is sticking with Dallas here, because until this team is able to show, what they are capable of, on the road, I think it's definitely a situation where I've got to stay away. They've got to prove it to me, that they're going to go on the road here and win a game 6 tonight against the Dallas Stars. I don't know what to say, but apparently Mark Scheifele's father passed away through the night. That's
Overnight,
awful. My
Wow.
goodness. Scheifele questionable, of course, because, what a time for that. My goodness. Your team's facing elimination, but obviously this is your father passing. Oh, my gosh, man. Absolutely horrible news. That's just awful news. And look, wow, for Winnipeg, geez, they're trying to prepare for this biggest game, and one of their top players has lost their father at this time. That's
not good. I don't know.
No.
That's hard to quantify, obviously. And if he's out of the lineup, then that's massive, and that would make sense if he is. But that's wow, just the timing of that.
Yeah, I think they'll probably leave it up to him. But my gosh, condolences and thoughts and prayers to the Schiefele family. That's bad news, period.
Right.
But the timing of this is just, oh my gosh, it's 10 times worse. Wow, absolutely awful news. And like I said, it's just the team's got to rally around this now. It's all you can do.
Yeah.
And somehow you got to rally around it and try to play a hockey game and save your season. But at the end of the day, it's also, family matters more than hockey. And when you see one of your, leaders and one of your veterans and one of your top players have just an absolute tragedy like this happen with his, I think it sounds like it was a sudden passing. I didn't know of any health issues that Mark Scheifele's father, Brad Schiefele, had. So apparently Scott Arniel is back at the hotel with Schiefele, providing support. Wow. What can you say? That's just all we can do is say thoughts and prayers to the Schiefele family and condolences. Awful news. It's not easy losing a parent. It's like I said, it's just awful stuff, and we just wish them all the best. That's all, and we'll see. Obviously, if Mark Schiefele has got the emotional, power, I guess, or stamina to still play tonight, even though it would be totally understandable if he doesn't. It'd be one of those things. What would my dad want me to do? He's probably going to be thinking like that as far as the decision as to whether he plays tonight in this game. But awful news. And we wish the Schiefele family all the best. That's not an easy transition to make, but transition we must.
No.
Florida and Toronto, game 7 tomorrow night. Florida minus 130, road favorites, 5.5 the total in this game. My goodness, the Toronto Maple Leafs, like I said, are they really going to be this cruel to their fans? They're going to drag Florida back to game 7 after just a phenomenal game 6 only to lose. That would be a special kind of cruel, as if the cruelty that Leafs fans have suffered through because of the shortcomings of this team for 58 years and counting haven't been enough. This would maybe take the cake. That you lay an egg in game 5, you're written off, you come back and you play one of the best games as a team you could possibly play, and winning game 6 on the road to save your season, only to go home and lose the series and your season ending all over again. It's almost like, you know what, guys? You won game 6 and you played so well. Don't you fucking dare win that game last night if you're not going to finish the job in game 7 tomorrow night. You should not have even bothered winning that game tomorrow night if you're not going to find the stones and find the fortitude to finish that game tomorrow night against the Florida Panthers at home. So I know Alex said this is a tough game to take as far as what we're going to do with it. The only thing I will bet pregame, just because it's the straight up system, is Florida in the first period to score a goal, just because we're talking system with that. But as far as the total being over 5, I'm going to spray, or the total now being 5 in some spots. There's over 5 minus 135 at some spots. When it hits 5, I got to dabble in an over. It's just been it's mechanical this year in the NHL that when totals have dropped as low as 5, now this is a game 7. So you have to keep that in mind. Game 7's historically very low scoring. So I would keep that small. I'm going to go to my old reliable, Alex. We've talked about this same game parlay that I've gone with over and over again in game 7. And that's Florida plus 2.5, Toronto plus 2.5, and the under, which you can get at 6.5, and it's reasonable price with that. It's amazing how many of these game 7s are 2 goals or less. Jonathan's not here in the chat, but I know he had the stats and how strong game 7s have been as far as 1 goal or 2 goal margins in these game 7s, regardless of who comes out victorious. I think definitely off the top of my head, I know there's been a lot of these games that have just been 1 goal or 2 goal decisions. So again, this has been something that's become kind of a go-to for me in game 7. You can go Florida plus 2.5 puck line, Toronto plus 2.5 puck line, and under 6.5 in a same game parlay, which is minus 130. That's pretty good to me. Just for the security. If you want to sweeten the odds and get the price to be even better, you could go to a plus 120 with that same game parlay on under 5.5. Under 5.5, though, is a little, because I remember Colorado-Dallas game 7. Remember the epic Mikko Rantanen legacy third period in game 7 to come back? There was an empty net goal with 2 seconds left for the hat-trick goal that Rantanen scored in that game, which put it over 5.5 and made it a 4-2 final score. So that's why I much prefer getting the 6.5 on the same game parlay for game 7 here, Panthers-Leafs, as opposed to the 5.5. I just want that extra little cushion, that extra little bit of wiggle room, that extra little bit of security there, which is why I would use the 6.5 on that same game parlay leg. So that's going to be the primary bet for me in this game. It's going to be Florida plus 2.5, Toronto plus 2.5, under 6.5, minus 130, same game parlay. I like that. These have been good to me in game 7s, and it was good to me in Dallas, Colorado. 2.5, under 6.5. Cashed in that game 7 in the first round. Yeah, Alex, go ahead. Florida.
No, just explain. There's certain books where you can bet this, and certain books you can't. For example, like BetMGM, you can't bet this, but I think Bet365 and FanDuel are the places where you can bet those. Yes. Correct? Okay, just wanted to let everybody know.
FanDuel, you definitely can, and Bet365, you definitely can.
Okay, yeah.
So those are the 2 that are worth a look. We found something here with these game 7s. Like, they're just very tight. They're very competitive. It's difficult as fuck because of the stakes. Neither team is giving an inch. Season is on the line for both teams. It's difficult to gain separation. It's difficult to gain a margin in these game 7s. That's why so many of them are decided by 1 goal or 2 goals, and we continue to see it. That's why we found something here pretty strong with this game 7 betting angle, this SGP of both teams plus 2.5 goals, and you attach the under 6.5 to it. You get a reasonable price on it and a good chance, I think, to cash a ticket here in this game 7. I know, Alex, you said you got nada. So I know you're going to be brief here pregame with Florida-Toronto, but just some overall thoughts on what you expect. I would not be shocked by anything. I would not be shocked certainly would not be shocked if the Leafs rip the hearts out of their fans one more time and lose game 6. Because they are actually, a good stat here, 0-5 in game 7s, the Toronto Maple Leafs since 2018.
Oof.
So 0-5 in their last 5 game 7s. But you counter that with Joe Woll is now 4-1 in his last 5 elimination game starts. And, remember, he was in net for the Leafs last year in the first round against Boston. Remember, Samsonov got banged up a little bit, and they went with Joseph Woll. And Joseph Woll was awesome in game 5 to keep the Leafs alive when they were down 3-1. Awesome in game 6 and kept the Leafs alive to force a game 7 in Boston. And, of course, Samsonov was ready to return in game 7, and that's the one they lost with Pasternak in overtime, of course. Last year, but Woll got them to game 7 with a great 2-0 performance in games 5 and 6. No, I don't think it was. Woll got injured at the end of game 6 last year, actually, now that I remember it. Right, something happened at the end of that game, and he was shaken up, and that's why they had to go to Samsonov. Because you're right, I think they would have stuck with Woll in games. I'm like, why didn't they stick with Woll? I think because Woll got banged up at the end of game 6 against
something
Boston.
In his leg or something like that.
It was, yeah. I remember right on the last shot of the game or something. That's when he got injured. I remember it now, and that's why they went to Ilya Samsonov. And a winner-take-all Game 7 against Boston last year. But no, Joel Wohl has shown, man, the elimination games, the most pressure situations, he can rise to the occasion. He certainly did that last night, and we'll see if he can do it again Sunday night in Game 7. But yeah, Alex, I know you don't love anything betting-wise for Game 7, but overall thoughts.
No, I'm right there with you in the fact that we could see it. The only thing that would shock me, that would truly shock me, is if Toronto comes out, blitzes Florida early, and it's a blowout. That's the only thing I would be surprised by, because everything else seems plausible. And the biggest thing for Florida is that they have to shoot the puck and choose better shot. The shot selection was terrible, especially in the power plays. I mean, you can't afford to go 0 for 4 in the power play. That's something you don't see too often in Florida. You give Florida 3 or 4 power plays, they're usually going to pot at least one, and certainly give you some pressure in the other 3. They really didn't do that, in Game 6. So that's the one thing they had to change. They have to have better shot selection. If they can do that, pressure and keep traffic on wall, then, like I said, because the weight of the world's on Toronto. There's no pressure on Florida. Florida's, they've won the championship. Back-to-back Eastern Conference, the titles would be their 3rd straight Eastern Conference final appearance if they win. There's no pressure on them. There's pressure on Toronto. And hearing 1967 over and over again, hearing every stat that we've been throwing out and every other talking head has been throwing out about Toronto shitting the bed in the playoffs. That's where all the pressure lies. So Toronto has to alleviate the pressure by jumping out early and changing the tide. We say this is a different season. Make it a different season. Make this a different Game 7 and jump out early. Play with some gusto and play with some confidence. Forget 1967. None of these guys' parents weren't alive in 1967. Fuck all that shit and play one great game of hockey, and then you get to move on and we can stop talking about it a little bit less. But if you're Florida, all you have to do is play your game, get shots on net, disrupt Toronto, take the air out of that building, something that they do very well. We've seen them do that in road games the last couple of years. That's why they have banners that are new and not dusty. So that's the key for both teams. I'll be betting something live, but like I said, it'll be a fun one to watch. It's Game 7. Game 7 in the NHL Stanley Cup playoffs. Nothing like it.
There's another Mr. Game 7 brewing. Not quite Pete DeBoer, 9-0, but apparently Paul Maurice is 5-0 in Game 7s. In his coaching career. And I'm trying to think obviously I know he was in Game 7 with Edmonton last year with Florida, but yeah, 5-0 in Game 7s for Paul Maurice. So this is going to be one of those games too, where we'll see how it goes. You know what I might do? Because ultimately what I think I was going to try to do in game is try to get plus money on both sides. I don't know if we're going to have enough goals, though, for that to happen. It could be one of those tight games again. Like, are both teams going to be leading at one point in this game? Last night, that was not the case. Certainly Game 5, that was not the case. You didn't have both teams leading at one point during the games. So that's a tough approach to take, getting plus money on both sides if both teams aren't going to have the lead at some point. But that's ultimately what I would want in this game, to try to get plus money on both sides. But yeah, pregame, I feel, and Florida, look, I think I would trust Florida more than Toronto because, again, it's these their Game 7 record and their home Game 7 record is not good the last few years. And now you see Paul Maurice is 5-0. I mean, I could only look at Florida, but I don't want to lay minus 130. I don't. Even minus 130, I don't want to lay that here with Florida. Not to mention, I did grab Florida. It was a small bet, but remember, Alex, I mentioned it after Game 1. When Toronto won Game 1, I did grab in series Florida at plus money. So, I figure I don't need to bet minus 130 in Game 7. Right. No way. I've already got in series with Florida, which I took at plus money after they lost Game 1 against Toronto. I probably should have waited till that bet. I thought they would win Game 2. They didn't. I could have gotten an even better price if I had waited till after Game 2 to bet that.
And now I'll say this now. Should Toronto lose Game 7? 2 things. Actually, let's look 3 things, and I'll break it brief. Number 1, I'm not looking at this postseason the same way we've seen these last few postseasons. Like I said, because the biggest thing is that the Anthony Stolarz loss is massive.
Yeah.
Okay. Like you mentioned, Curtis Joseph. Think of Ed Belfour. Like that's the last time we saw a goalie playing this fucking good in the Leafs jersey at this time up until his injury. So that's such a game changer that I can't even put this into the same. Even though it would be a collapse to lose 4 straight after a 2-0 lead, but this isn't the same magnitude in my book as some of the other collapse. This ain't like the Boston 2013 collapse, for example.
This is not a
Two,
collapse or a choke. It's just still an underachievement. Because to be honest with you, the success of this season, I think, in my mind, hinges upon going with this roster and this coach who's won a cup is going further than you ever have before with this core group. That's what's going to make this a successful season, at least a season you can live with and say, we took a step this year. To me, beating Ottawa is not taking a step. No. This is your step, folks. Yep. This is your step, Leafs Nation. Conference finals for the first time as a franchise in 23 years, and only the third time you've been in the conference finals since, or fourth time rather, because there was the back-to-back, 93, 94, and then 2002. The fourth time you've been in the conference finals since the last cup you won, 1967. That's what this is the step that says, you know what, the difference between we came up short again, another underachieving playoffs, and it's actually a successful run. This game is going to be the difference.
Yeah. And then the other point, I can compound it. The other point is that, I get that the tensions will be high regardless of outcome in Toronto, but should they lose, I just really hope that the fans don't just take to the streets and tear that place apart. Because it like I said, if you look at how things have built upon with this Leaf season in the last several years, this could be the powder keg for something, and I just really hope that's not the case. But it seems like the tension's at an all-time high because of you had this great season, you finally had this goalie, you had momentum in this series, and now for it to all kind of fall apart. So that's the other thing that if you're going to this game and you're in Toronto, just keep your head on the swivel, be leery and things around you and whatnot, and be safe of all, because like I said, these are real things. We saw what happened in Vancouver. You've seen what happened in a couple other cities when teams lose, and this definitely has that kind of potential. I'm sure the police and everything will be on high alert there in that area around Scotiabank.
Yeah, no doubt. Like I said, it's hopefully it doesn't get to that point. We don't want Vancouver reincarnate here if something goes wrong here for the Toronto Maple Leafs last night. But like I said, it's wow, it's like a monumental moment for the franchise tomorrow night. You hate to just build it up like that, but it truly is, especially for this core group. So fascinating to see how it plays out. I'm very tempted by what Robert said in the chat, by the taking a shot maybe that we see a Game 7 overtime game. I would not be shocked. We haven't seen many. I don't usually love betting draws in Game 7s, quite honestly. But
I'm not betting it.
No,
I'm not betting it.
I'm tempted. That's what I said. I'm tempted, but I don't know if I will. You know what? Like I said, I just like the +2.5s on both sides and the under 6.5. I really feel good about that. I think that's
which if you get a draw, you have no reason to bet the draw because you bet that. That's damn near going to cash, and unless you have a 4-4 overtime, that's more likely going to come home and cash for you. So, yeah,
no question. But again, especially with the fact that we have not seen, obviously, many Game 7 overtime games. You're right. I think that SGP is the best way to go. I didn't even bring it up when we started talking about this game. The injury status of Matthew Knies, and give him credit, man. This kid's got so much heart, guts, toughness. He did everything he could to play as long as he could last night through that obvious pain that he was in last night. And Craig Berube just said he's got no update. He'll find out more today about his status. If I had to guess right now, he's going to do everything in his power, Knies, because that's the kind of kid he is, to find a way to play, but I'm not so sure he will. I think it was that much of the pain he was in. I personally have a hard time believing he'll play tomorrow night, but we'll have to wait and see on that. And it will be Joe Wall. Like Anthony Stolarz isn't going to be ready for Game 1 against Carolina if they advance, let alone play tomorrow night. It's still going to be a ways away for Anthony Stolarz. And there's people apparently that are connected to the team thinking, his season, he may be done for the year.
Right. Those are the things I had heard. That unless they made it to like a cup Game 6 or Game 7, and even then at that point you wouldn't bring him back into the fold. He's pretty much done for the year. So,
I would agree with that. I think that it is very unfortunate. I mean, this is a game that could be very low scoring, like Game 6. So be careful with player props. But I will say, if you're going to look at block shot props, really both sides. One thing I noticed last night: lots of chances, lots of shot attempts, but it was difficult to get shots through. It was a lower shot volume game because there were so many blocked shots both ways. Blocked shots props are never a bad idea in Game 7. Carlo, Tanev, and Benoit are the obvious candidates for Toronto. And then you look on the Florida side, Ekblad's a good one. Forsling's a good one. Mikkola. Those are the guys that you expect to really block a shit ton of rubber on the Florida side on the blue line. So like I said, definitely keep an eye on that. Blocked shot props, I'll be looking at a good bunch of them tomorrow night as well for Game 7, no question. There you have it. Yeah, no show tomorrow, Nick. We're just doing the one show this weekend. We'll give ourselves a much-deserved Sunday off tomorrow. So that's why we decided we would do Game 6, a breakdown of Winnipeg, Dallas, and Game 7 of Florida, Toronto here today on the Saturday show. So, yeah, no show tomorrow. We'll be back Monday, though, the usual time, 2 p.m. Eastern time. And we'll either have Game 7 of Winnipeg, Dallas on Monday, or we'll be giving you our conference finals preview show and looking ahead to the conference finals on Monday. But either way, we will be back on Monday, 2 p.m. Eastern. Make sure you join us. And we will have 2 betcasts this week. One will be free for all, and one will be Patreon exclusive for our Patreon members. So make sure you sign up. $10 per month, patreon.com/iceguys. Goalie charts, totals charts, our daily betting card throughout the playoffs, sides, totals, player props posted each and every day on the Patreon page, access to our exclusive live betcasts. So make sure you check that out, just $10 per month. And we will have content throughout the summer, throughout the NHL offseason. Player suite interviews, and we will have a daily non-hockey card posted on the page throughout the summer months as well. In the other sports, for me, that would be CFL, baseball, all the other stuff I'm involved with once the hockey season ends. So we'll keep that running so that we can give the people that are going to keep their subscriptions going and active through the summer months, give them something to look forward to. So $10 per month. Again, make sure you check it out. Patreon.com/iceguys.
I watch a little bit more UFC and boxing in the summertime too, so I'll throw maybe a few of those plays in there as well. But also check out the Ice Guys store, iceguys.myspreadshop.com. You got 3 days left to save 20% off of everything in the store. Hit on the redeem button at the homepage, add all your items to your cart. 20% will be taken at checkout. We've got everything in stock right now. T-shirts, caps. It's T-shirt weather pretty much everywhere here in North America. It's hot as hell here in St. Paul, so this is a great time to get you a nice T-shirt and get out of this jersey. And save 20% off on that for the next 3 days. That's right now at iceguys.myspreadshop.com.
Make sure you check it out. All right, bargain bin special of the night, and I will have one from both of the games this weekend. Bargain bin special of the night and best bets coming up in just a moment, right after we hear from our great Ice Guy sponsors.
Support for the Ice Guys podcast is provided by Boston Hemp Incorporated, Tailgaters Social, and a big thank you to all that subscribe to the Ice Guys Patreon page. Everyone loves a perfect pair. Bacon and eggs. Thunder and lightning. Mario and Luigi. A hot dog with fries. Ian and Alex B. That's right. Everyone loves a perfect pair. So why not pair up your game nights with Boston Hemp? From exotic flower to concentrates and edible products. You'd be hard-pressed to find a better pairing than Boston Hemp and hockey. Check them out today at bostonhempinc.com. That's bostonhempinc.com. Boston Hemp Incorporated, the official smoke sponsor of the Ice Guys. Void where prohibited by law. Not available outside of the United States. Must be 21 or over to obtain products. Check your local regulations to see if Boston Hemp is available in your area.
Shout out to all our great sponsors, including Boston Hemp Inc., 20% off using the promo code IceGuys at bostonhempinc.com. All right, bargain bin special of the night. We heard from Matt Robinson earlier. Tyler Seguin, anytime goal for his bargain bin special for the Dallas Stars here tonight in Game 6. Alex, what do you got for bargain bin special?
So I was looking back at some of the recent closeout games for Dallas, and two people that stuck out as goal scorers in those games, Rupe Hintz and Wyatt Johnston. I'm taking both of them as a parlay, each to get a goal. You can get plus 876 in the same game parlay. Rupe Hintz and Wyatt Johnston, anytime goal scorers over at FanDuel. So that's my bargain bin play. Both Rupe Hintz and Wyatt Johnston to get a goal in this game as Dallas looks to advance to the Western Conference Final.
There you go. So guys with success in these kind of environments and settings in a Game 6, an elimination game, Wyatt Johnston and Rupe Hintz for the Dallas Stars. Anytime goal parlay for Alex B. Smith at plus 876. Wow, one hell of a price there for bargain bin special of the night for him. My bargain bin special of the night for tonight, I will go to, you know what? He kind of screwed up in the last game. For the Dallas, not screwed up, but he kind of went over the edge with the right hand to Schiefele. Although I like that he's taking a pound of flesh there. I don't know if I would have gone that far, but still, I at least like we're not going down easy with here. It just feels like it could be a Jamie Benn night for me. Plus 490 for Jamie Benn, the captain of the Dallas Stars. I will go with that for my bargain bin special of the night from the Winnipeg Dallas game. For the Florida Toronto game, I am going to go with, for me, in this Game 7 tomorrow night, he scored an overtime winner in these playoffs for the Toronto Maple Leafs in the first round against Ottawa. And I thought after taking a bunch of penalties, he had a really great game last night. He was the guy that made that pass to Bobby McMahon to spring the 2-on-1, and McMahon with the saucer pass to Pacioretty for the 2-0 goal. Max Domi is the guy that got that started. And I'm going to go with Max Domi plus 700 to find the back of the net in Game 7 with Ty in attendance. Pops Domi, as he often is. He'll be watching in his usual seat there at Scotiabank Arena. Max Domi for the Toronto Maple Leafs plus 700. So there you go. Jamie Benn plus 490, Max Domi plus 700 for my weekend bargain bin specials of the night. All right, best bets. Alex, what do you like for best bet?
PSFP is the acronym that we use. That means play some fucking Pantera. I think we will hear some Pantera at least 4 times in the night. So give me Dallas Stars team total over 3 minus $1.10. It's available at BetMGM. You can also sprinkle a little bit on 3.5. That's as high as plus 140. But for that best bet purposes, Dallas Stars team total over 3 minus $1.10. That's the play.
All right, Dallas Stars team total over 3 for a little bit more security at around minus 110 for Alex B. Smith with his best bet. This is a trio of guys on the same best bet for Winnipeg Dallas tonight. I'm also on the team total, but I'm going to go with the 3.5 officially. I didn't bet 3. I don't bet to push. I bet to win, and I'm going for the plus money here. Plus 140 with Dallas Stars team total over 3.5. That will be my Saturday, Game 6, Winnipeg, Dallas, best bet. But I'm going to give you one for Sunday as well, Florida, Toronto. And it's going to be that same game parlay. I don't love using same game parlays for best bet, but I'm going to here for this game tomorrow because I really do like it. It is best bet worthy. I think it's a strong bet. If you have access to the same game parlay that will FanDuel and Bet365, you will be allowed to bet this. Florida plus 2.5, Toronto plus 2.5, and under 6.5. Minus 130 for Game 7, Florida and Toronto. So there you go. 2 best bets for the weekend. 2 best bets, 2 bargain bin specials. Don't say I'm not a giving man here on the weekend edition of the Ice Guys. A shout out to everyone in the chat. Hit the like button. We appreciate it very much. Can't wait for these 2 games this weekend. Looking forward to it. Again, we are off tomorrow, but we will be back with you on Monday. A reminder, the Ice Guys is live 7 days a week, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday, not this Sunday, but in normal circumstances, Saturday and Sunday, noon Eastern. If you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and more. Download the Ice Guys podcast when you can't watch the show live. For Alex B. Smith and Matt Robinson, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Saturday and a great weekend. Enjoy the 2 games taking place in the Stanley Cup playoffs this weekend, and we will be back with you on Monday, 2 p.m. Eastern, for another edition of the Ice Guys.